What's up, y'all? Alvin here, and this is You Ask, I Answer, episode 3. I tell the good jokes. All right, let's get into it. So first question is from Mike Reynolds, and he is on Facebook. A lot less questions on Facebook, so if you want to get your question answered, Facebook or Twitter is probably a good place to go. Tons of questions on Instagram. Definitely not going to be able to answer them all. But anyway, Mike wants to know, where did I get my Howler hat? It's one of the old school ones that just says Howler in yellow, and probably the best place to look first is Howler Brothers. Check the website, maybe send them an email. Most of the stuff sells out pretty quick, so if you can't find it there, you can look on eBay, but be prepared to pay considerably more than retail. All right, happy hunting out there. Okay, so next up is a question from Decolonized Meat Eater. And he wants to know, how do you maintain those illustrious locks? They seem unfazed and resilient despite all the years of wind and salt whippage. Well, thanks for the kind words. The dreads are definitely feeling the wear just like the rest of me. But, it's just hair. Pretty easy. Wash it, dry it, and keep on going. Thanks for the question, though. Okay, so Fly Fishing with Bones wants to know about cameras. All right, Bonner. Asking me a question about cameras is a tough one. I probably got almost as much camera gear as I do fishing gear. But I'll say, the best camera is probably the one that you already have. I've seen your Fuji. If that thing shoots in RAW, I would start shooting in RAW. If it has interchangeable lenses, I would try to find a good wide angle lens. That's great for sticking that fish right up next to the lens and making them look as big as possible. If not, I would say any of the Sony, like the Alpha series cameras. I think I've got a 6600 that works great. If you can only have one lens, I'd get some type of zoom that goes from the one I use is the 18 to 105. So 18 is a good wide angle, and you can zoom in a little bit with the 105. But reality is, if your camera will shoot in RAW and you can get more lenses for it, I'd hang with that one. As far as the waterproof thing goes, that's tough. If you don't have a GoPro, I'd say get a GoPro. I have a many years love-hate relationship with GoPros. You can do some amazing stuff with them, but they can also be amazingly frustrated. But if you don't have one, get one, and you can get some stuff that you can't get with any other type of camera, and it's not a giant investment. But anyway, we can talk about that next time we go fishing, man. Nick Fly Fishing, my favorite Albanian, Mr. Besnick, wants to know, would I ever consider guiding for tarpon? And I would, if I could find some tarpon. Tarpon in Texas is kind of a tough thing. There's a few guys that have it dialed in, either in the South Padre area or Port O'Connor area, but I ain't one of those guys. Thanks for the question, though. So, Dirty Hunting Angler wants to know, Guadalupe Bass fly of choice for winter fishing and beer sometime. Yeah, definitely sometime on the beer. But the choice, I'd say my number one fly for Guadalupe during the winter would probably be a crawfish. I tied a crawfish pattern just a couple days ago. Check that video out. I'll put that up here. Liver Eaton Johnson wants to know, what length of tippet do you use for Texas Reds? And I'm assuming he's meaning total leader length. And, I usually, believe it or not, just go with pre-tied leaders in 9 foot, anywhere from 12 to 20 pound test. T. Siles wants to know, what was your favorite fishing trip of all the ones you've been on and why? My favorite one was the last one I went on, because that's the one I just went on, and my memories, fade sometimes after a while. I've been fortunate to go on a lot of great trips, and it would be hard to say, which one was my favorite. They all were great for different reasons. The Seychelles, because that's the most exotic place I've ever been to. Went to Puerto Vallarta in Mexico. I'd never done that before, so that was actually pretty exciting because it was totally new. Spent lots of years fly fishing for trout in the Wind River Range in Wyoming, and that's just an amazing place. And I would say that's one of my favorites. But, I've had some of my most exciting days on the water on the Texas coast or on the Colorado River, just, out my back door, basically. So I'm pretty excited about going fishing anywhere, anytime. And, so many great trips. I'm very, very lucky. But thanks for the question. Cedar Hook asks, how much patience is needed polling your wife? Does she ever poll you? Now, I'm assuming you're talking about my wife, not just your wife as in the generic wife out there. My wife is great. She's easy to poll. She really appreciates having a free guide. And she's really good. The challenge a lot of days is for me to see the fish before she does. She's really good at seeing them. Great caster, almost always puts the fly in the right place on the first cast. So she's, one of my favorite clients. And yeah, she's working on polling me. It's weird though, because whether it's my wife or just one of my buddies, when I'm on the boat, I really like the polling. I really like the guiding part. So it's really hard to get me off of the platform and onto the front of the boat. I do occasionally get up on front when I'm forced to, or when somebody really nice is just adamant about it. But more often than not, I just love staying up there pushing the boat around. So yeah, it's easy fishing with my wife. She's awesome. Okay, Hogan88 wants to know, what routine maintenance do I do on my jet boat? And I would say sharpening the impeller and shimming it are two of the main things. And of course, greasing the bearing after every trip. I actually have made a couple of videos about jet boat maintenance. I'll throw a link up there somewhere, and maybe you can check those out if you need a little help with that. Eat Shade and Die wants to know, what's the largest gratuity I've ever got? And you'd think I would remember, but I don't. I don't remember exactly how much it was. I do remember who gave it to me and the circumstances. It was years ago. A client of mine from Texas who was fishing with me in Colorado, he got invited on this trip. He didn't set anything up, and he didn't realize he was not going to have a rent car. So I had to come and pick him and his partner up. He was like, oh man, I can't believe you're having to go to this much trouble to pick us up. So he pulls his wallet out and just gives me all the money that he had in his wallet. It wasn't $1,000, but it was close. I do remember that. And yeah, it was just because he felt bad because I had to come pick him up at his hotel. So yeah, I don't remember how much that was. That was a pretty bizarre scene, but Rick, thanks for that, man. I won't forget the circumstances, even though I forgot the amount. All right, I do get a lot of kind of technical gear questions, and I usually try to make a video about those, but let's answer a couple of them right here. So one of them is that a 1 gallon or half gallon Yeti on your boats? Would like to see close-up of your boat setup. So probably got some boat setup videos somewhere in the mix. Just check it out. But I actually use the 1 gallon and the half gallon. In the skiff, because the storage is lower, I use the half gallon. So I'll have 2 or 3 half gallons. In the jet boat, I use the gallon because I've got the gallon jug mount attached to my grab bar. So yeah, half gallon, gallon, just depends on which boat I'm in. Okay, so B. Benelim wants to know, how many hours does it take to plan the Loco Trash Bash? And I'm going to admit that it was my idea initially, but a lot of the work is done by folks other than myself. Mainly my wife and a couple of other folks that are involved with the organization. But I did ask my wife, and she was able to come up with a rough estimate of the hours that the folks who work directly for us put in. And it was somewhere between 300 and 350 hours to put this together. If you don't know, we do this trash cleanup every year if we can. And this past year, we had about 200 volunteers, and we cleaned up 40 miles of the Colorado River below Austin. I'm going to do a video about it, so keep your eyes out for that. And we pulled out 10 tons of trash. So this will be our third year. The first year we pulled out around 6 tons. The second year we pulled out around 8 tons. And this past year we pulled out close to 10 tons of trash from the river. So that was, like I said, 300 to 350 hours of just planning and prep to put it together beforehand, and then it was a one-day cleanup. Thanks everybody for showing up and doing that. Thanks for all the work, and thanks for the question. All right, so I'm gonna do one more. Seems like this is gonna be a weekly thing, so maybe I'll save some of these questions for next week. If you guys got more questions, throw them in there. I'll compile them. We'll do another one. But last question is, and it's a 2-part question, so I guess last 2 questions is, State Line Fishing says, hey Alvin, 2-part question. First is, how do you seem to stay so chill and seem to have such a positive attitude all the time? And I'm gonna say it's because I practice. There's plenty of days when I wake up and I'm in a crappy mood, I don't feel good, I'm tired, whatever. But all I have to do is remind myself of how lucky I am and just take a few minutes to kind of gather my thoughts, and it just happens. But it is because I have practiced it. I have worked on it. You can ask my wife. I'm not always super happy. Anyway, but I am really happy that you asked me that question. Second part is, when you fish by yourself, are you poling or trolling? And do you just cast from the poling platform if so? Yes, I have a trolling motor. I hardly ever use it, even when I'm by myself. It's just kind of a hassle. And usually I'm fishing in water that's too shallow for the trolling motor anyway. So if I'm by myself, if I'm in the skiff, I pole around. It's pretty tricky. I've got a couple of videos out there where you might see me casting from the platform, but you got to put the pole down, pick the rod up. A lot of times you got to get some line out, and most of the time it just doesn't happen. So unless I'm really confident that the fish are going to be chill and give me a shot, I usually just keep on poling, just watch them, maybe pull the camera out, try to get a picture. And every once in a while, I'll make a cast and actually catch a fish. All right, y'all. That's it for this week. Like I said, I'm going to go ahead and start doing them weekly, so get them questions in. Thanks for watching the video. If you haven't, please subscribe to the channel. Give it a thumbs up, all that YouTube stuff. I'll see you in the next one. And in the meantime, good luck on the water.